blood, fire, and water, Rome's arenas turned human suffering into empire-approved spectacle. From funeral duels to naval massacres, Roman arenas showcased humanity's darkest entertainments, rituals that became state-sanctioned cruelty. And here's where it all begins. In the muddy Forum Boreum, almost 3 centuries before the Colosseum would rise. Picture this: the air heavy with damp stone and the sharp tang of cattle dung. 3 pairs of armored men step into a makeshift arena. They're not soldiers, they're slaves, and they're about to fight to the death, not for fame, not for a bet, but to honor a father who has just died. This was 264 BC. Decimus Junius Brutus Sceva had buried his father and, as a final mark of respect, staged what the historian Livy later called the first recorded gladiatorial combat in Rome. The crowd wasn't here for sport. They were witnesses to a solemn, bloody offering. The Romans called it a munus, a duty owed to the dead. The roots of this weren't purely Roman. Campanian customs included human sacrifice at tombs, and the Samnites, Rome's old rivals, already staged warrior duels at funerals. Slowly, a private mourning ritual started to bleed into a public spectacle. It was still about the dead, but the spectacle of struggle began to fascinate the living. Imagine that tension, grief, duty, and the first stirrings of a crowd craving violence. But just when it seemed like this was a one-off, a twist flipped everything. These funeral duels started showing up at festivals. The Romans called them ludi, and the Senate quickly got involved. Now the games weren't private grief, they were political, religious, and state-funded. At first, the ludi Romani honored Jupiter, often during times of crisis. The Senate would vote to fund the games, hoping to appease the gods. What started as blood for a family has now become blood for the city. Temporary wooden arenas gave way to stone amphitheaters, and the Roman state codified something that had begun as a private act of mourning. Think about that. What was once a somber, intimate ritual had evolved into a publicly sanctioned performance. And with each drop of blood, the state subtly wrote its own laws, not in tablets, but in stone. You can almost hear the crowds cheering, the clash of swords, and the desperation in the eyes of the first gladiators. What would you have done if you were standing there, watching human lives treated as entertainment? And just when you thought the blood couldn't get any darker, it did. Imagine the iron gate creaking open, a hush falling over the crowd, and from the shadows, a lion stepping into the sunlight. Its ribs press against matted fur, eyes sharp, muscles coiled with hunger. This wasn't a duel. It was an execution for entertainment. By the 1st century CE, Roman arenas weren't just about gladiators facing each other. They were venues for venations, staged hunts, and damnatio ad bestias, executions by wild beasts, criminals, prisoners of war, and rebellious slaves. They were thrown into cages with lions, leopards, or bears, often starved beforehand, so the audience could savor every terrifying moment. Some fighters, called bestiarii, were trained or forced to battle these animals, spears and nets in hand. Archaeologists even found a pelvis in Roman Britain, scarred by the bite marks of a large feline, silent proof of a man who died in a fight no one should survive. Seneca wrote about prisoners who chose suicide over this fate, a final act of defiance in a world designed to strip them of control. The crowd cheered, political leaders smiled, and the empire flexed its power. Hunger and fear became tools. Every claw swipe, every roar, it wasn't just a spectacle, it was a statement. What would you have done standing there, watching someone fight for survival against a starved beast? And now, the arena moves from sand to water. Because Rome didn't just want gladiators and beasts. They wanted epic, lethal naval shows. These were called naumachii, mock battles staged in flooded arenas or artificial lakes. It all started in 46 BC when Julius Caesar excavated a lake near the Tiber to reenact a fight between Tyrian and Egyptian fleets. Real ships, real weapons, and condemned prisoners manned the decks. No chance of survival, just death choreographed for the thrill of spectators. Augustus took it further, building a massive basin measuring 1,800 by 1,200 Roman feet, filled by the Aqua Alsietina aqueduct, capable of hosting thousands of doomed fighters. Emperor Claudius drained Fucine Lake to stage one such spectacle, and the doomed men reportedly shouted, "Morituri te salutant." Those who are about to die salute you. You can almost feel the fatalism, the tension thick in the air, spectators leaning forward as oars churned the water and spears flew. Even the Colosseum adapted. Under Titus and Domitian, the arena floor could be flooded to host miniature naval carnage. These events weren't just entertainment, they were demonstrations of control. Rome could command men, nature, and even water itself. Every ship, every life lost sent a message. This empire bent everything and everyone to its will. Could you even imagine being on that deck, knowing there was no escape, no mercy, only the roar of thousands? And just when you thought Roman cruelty had limits, it staged myths as real-life torment. The Colosseum's grand opening under Titus in AD 80 wasn't just gladiators and beasts, it was executions dressed as legend. Imagine the midday sun glaring down on the sand as condemned men and women became actors in horrific reenactments. Orpheus would step in, trying to charm wild beasts with song, except here, charm didn't save anyone. The myth of Pasiphae was enacted too. A woman, or sometimes a man in disguise, thrown to a beast in a twisted imitation of her cursed fate. And then there was the tunica molesta, pitch-soaked garments set ablaze, turning the condemned into walking torches. Tertullian, writing as a Christian under Roman rule, bitterly described these kindling men, their screams drowned beneath applause. This wasn't storytelling, it was control. Each death mirrored divine punishment, each flame a reminder of power, and every cheer from the crowd reinforced a perverse sense of justice. Audience and execution blurred. Myth, theater, and torture collided in the sand. You can almost hear the gasps, the cheers, and the awful awe that swept through the spectators as they watched lives become instruments of empire. And it all comes together. Blood, fire, water, spectacle. Rome's arenas were never just entertainment. They were stages where the empire wrote its authority in living, breathing horror. Death wasn't private. It was public, ritualized, and codified into statecraft. Every gladiator's swing, every roar of a starving lion, every crashing trireme in a naumachia, and every scream from a mythically tortured victim told the same story. Rome is absolute, and nothing escapes its control. These spectacles weren't random chaos. They were measured displays of dominance. Sand soaked in blood, water churned with the desperate struggles of men, and flames devoured flesh not to punish a crime, but to demonstrate authority. Hunger, fear, fire, tools sharpened to perfection. Each act, each gruesome detail, had a purpose: to impress upon the spectators the fragility of life under the empire. Even the layout of the arena, the tunnels, cages, and flooded basins, was meticulously designed to heighten anticipation and amplify terror. Imagine standing there in the roaring crowd, the smell of smoke and iron filling your nostrils. You see the glint of a spear, the glimmer of firelight dancing on the sand, and the water frothing as doomed prisoners cling to life. Men and women acting out the ultimate surrender, performing death on a scale no one else could imagine. The audience gasps, cheers, and trembles simultaneously. It is theater, yes, but also courtroom, pulpit, and political stage all at once. Step back, take it all in, and you see the genius and horror intertwined. Rome didn't merely stage events. Rome staged obedience, and the message was clear. In the empire, Everything, blood, fire, water, even myth, bowed to power. From funeral duels to mythological tortures, Rome transformed human suffering into spectacle, cementing control over life itself. In arenas of blood, water, and flame, the empire proved that power could be displayed not just through conquest, but through orchestrated cruelty. Which act shocks you most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.